President Sisi meets leaders of 52 major IT and outsourcing companies. The Egyptian president meets with the secretary of the Russian Security Council in Cairo. And voting continues in the Egyptian House of Representatives elections. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has met leaders of 52 major IT and outsourcing companies during the Global Outsourcing Summit in Cairo. President el-Sisi highlighted 55 agreements signed with the Ministry of Communications, expected to create 75,000 jobs, and stressed transforming Egypt's IT sector into a productive, export-driven industry. He emphasized human capital development, digital education and training programs like Digital Pioneers, which trains over 10,000 young people annually. Minister Talat said that the IT sector is now Egypt's fourth strategic sector, with digital outsourcing driving growth. He noted 800,000 annual trainees and double digital exports between 2022 and 2024. Sisi reaffirmed the state's commitment to supporting foreign investors and expanding opportunities in Egypt's tech sector. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has met with Sergei Shoigu, the Secretary of the Russian Security Council in Cairo, with senior Egyptian and Russian officials present. President el-Sisi stressed the importance of stability in the Middle East, full implementation of the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement in Gaza, and advancing a two-state solution for Palestinians. He also reaffirmed Egypt's support for resolving the Russia-Ukraine crisis through dialogue. The talks covered bilateral cooperation in trade, investment, tourism, and projects such as the Russian Industrial Zone in the Suez Canal Economic Zone and the Daba nuclear power plant. Shoigu praised Egypt's role in the region and reaffirmed Russia's commitment to continued coordination. Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati has held a phone call with Mali's Foreign Minister Abdoulaye Diop to discuss bilateral relations and regional counter-terrorism efforts. Abdelati emphasized Egypt's commitment to the safety of its nationals in Mali and urged efforts to secure the release of 3 kidnapped Egyptians. Diop confirmed that the Malian authorities are working on their swift release. The ministers also pledged to strengthen cooperation on security, stability, and development across Mali and the African continent, reaffirming the two countries' long-standing fraternal ties. The African Union has condemned the abduction of 3 Egyptian nationals in Mali, calling for their immediate release amid a worsening security crisis. The African Union expressed concern over escalating violence in Mali, including fuel blockades, attacks on civilians, and assaults on peacekeepers and aid workers. It called for a coordinated international response to support peace efforts, restore stability, and help the Malian government protect its citizens. Polling stations opened across Egypt at 9 a.m. local time, launching a weeks-long process to fill 568 of the 596 seats in the lower house of parliament. The remaining 28 members will be appointed directly by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Egyptians abroad voted over the weekend, while domestic polling will be staggered across the provinces, with Alexandria voting through Tuesday and Cairo set to cast ballots on November 24th. Final results are due by December 25th. According to Councillor Ahmed bin Daly, Executive Director of the National Election Authority, or the NEA, 99% of polling stations opened on time at 9 a.m. local time across the 14 governorates for the first phase of Egypt's 2025 House of Representatives elections. They confirmed that all 5,606 committees are now operating smoothly under the continuous NEA supervision. He said the authority remains in direct contact with local committees to address any technical or logistical issues promptly and highlighted measures to assist voters and encourage participation. From the NEA's Central Operation Room, bin Daly held a video conference with judges overseeing the 14 governorates, directing them to request extra ballot papers if needed, with a 5% reserve already allocated. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouly has cast his vote at the Egyptian-Japanese school in Sheikh Zayed city in Giza as the first phase of the voting for Egypt's 2025 House of Representatives got underway. Following his vote, Madbouly described the participation as a vital constitutional entitlement and called on citizens to exercise their right responsibly, noting that the strong turnout of Egyptians abroad. He praised the efforts of the state institutions, the National Elections Authority, and the Egyptian diplomatic missions for ensuring smooth voting both domestically and overseas. Egypt's Ministry of Interior announced that the full implementation of a nationwide security plan approved by the Minister, Mahmoud Tawfiq, to safeguard the 2025 parliamentary elections and ensure the safety of voters. Security forces have been deployed at all polling stations and access routes, supported by mobile units, rapid response teams, and female officers to handle emergencies. The plan also covers strategic sites, public spaces, and major transport routes, with traffic patrols and monitoring systems in place to maintain order and assist the elderly in voting, as well as people with disabilities. All security sectors are operating with the full preparedness, neutrality, and discipline to guarantee that citizens can cast their votes freely and securely. Dr. Manal Awad, the Minister of Local Development and Acting Minister of Environment, confirmed that all governorates participating in the first phase of the 2025 House of Representatives elections have completed their preparations. She said that logistical and organizational measures have been finalized to ensure the voting process goes smoothly and securely on Monday and Tuesday, from November 10th to the 11th. The preparations, she noted, follows the directives from Egypt's political leadership and cabinet instructions to guarantee that elections are conducted in a well-organized and safe environment reflecting the prestige of the Egyptian state. Egyptians flocked to polling stations across the 14 governorates to cast their votes in the first phase of the 2025 parliamentary elections in what officials described as a strong show of national awareness and their civic duty. Voters of all ages queued early in the morning, many waving flags and expressing pride in taking part in shaping the country's future. Members of both the House of Representatives and the Senate hailed the high turnout, saying it underscores Egyptian commitment to their constitutional right and their confidence in the democratic process. Lawmakers stressed that participation in the elections is both a right and a national duty, reflecting citizens' desire to preserve stability and support the development efforts underway. Polling stations in Sheikh Zayed city witnessed a strong turnout on the first day of the voting process for the 2025 House of Representatives elections, with large crowds flocking to cast their ballots. Notably, Egypt's younger generation, those born in the 2000s, made a visible impact at the polls, underscoring their belief that participation is key to shaping the nation's future. Young voters, many between the ages of 20 and 25, arrived early in the morning and continued to vote throughout the day, reflecting a spirit of responsibility, patriotism, and determination to drive positive change. Observers described their participation as a powerful sign of generational engagement and a commitment to Egypt's progress. Egypt's State Information Services, or SIS, has established a monitoring room to ensure the smooth and accurate coverage of the November House Representatives elections by 86 foreign media outlets from 32 different countries. The rooms provided direct communication lines, monitoring reports, correct inaccuracies, and support ethical reporting. Meanwhile, nationwide campaigns, including Egypt for All its citizens, encourages voters to take part in this vote. Egyptian Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade Hassan al-Khatib has inaugurated the Egyptian-Chinese Business Forum in Cairo, highlighting the deep economic partnership between the two nations. Al-Khatib noted that the trade between Egypt and China reached $16 billion in 2024, with over 2,800 Chinese companies investing more than $8 billion in Egypt. He emphasized the need to attract further Chinese investments, expand joint production for exports, and enhance local manufacturing. The minister highlighted successful joint projects including the Tedda Industrial Zone in the Suez Canal Economic Zone and contributions to Egypt's new administrative capital, New Alameen City, and the high-speed rail project. Suez Canal Authority Chairman Osama Rabia announced that revenues are expected to reach $4.2 billion by year's end, up 7.6% from the $3.9 billion last year. Vessel traffic rose 16% in October, with the dollar revenues up 17%, and the return of the ultra-large container ships without military escort signals renewed confidence among shipping companies. One of the largest container vessels absent since October 2023 recently crossed, fully loaded with 179,000 tons of cargo under normal, secure conditions. Rabia attributed the recovery to the Sharm el-Sheikh truce brokered by Egypt, the US, and European and Arab partners, which stabilized navigation and lowered maritime risk levels by 35%, encouraging rerouting back through the canal. Egypt signed MOUs with 55 companies to grow offshoring and digital services, creating over 70,000 jobs in 3 years. The agreements signed by ITILA at the Global Offshoring Summit included 39 companies expanding operations and 16 entering Egypt for the first time. Prime Minister Madbouly said the deals strengthen Egypt as a global outsourcing hub, while the ICT Minister Talat highlighted 14 to 16% annual sector growth, driven by digital infrastructure, a skilled talent pool, and competitive costs. Signatories include Accenture, IBM, HSBC, Capgemini, Dell, and Nestle. Egypt's exports rose 6.7% in August 2025, reaching $3.96 billion, up from $3.71 billion in the same month last year. According to data from the Central Agency for Public Mobilization and Statistics, CAPMAS, the growth was driven by higher shipments of key commodities, including ready-made garments, which increased by 20.6%, pasta and food preparations up 29.1%, crude oil, which rose by 7.6%, and soap and cleansing products, which grew by 29.4%. However, some exports declined, including refined petroleum products, which fell by 21.6%, primary plastics down 30.3%, fertilizers, which decreased by 29.9%, and fresh fruit down 15.2%. And in sports, Al Ahly has secured the Egyptian Super Cup with a 2-0 victory over rivals Zamalek at Abu Dhabi's Mohammed bin Zayed Stadium. Ashraf bin Sharqi opened the scoring in the 44th minute, and Marwan Atiyah added a second in the 72nd to seal the win for the Red Devils. This brings us to the end of our news bulletin, but before we wrap up, here's a quick recap of the top stories making headlines for this hour. President Al-Sisi meets leaders of 52 major IT and outsourcing companies. The Egyptian president meets with the secretary of the Russian Security Council in Cairo. And voting continues in the Egyptian House of Representatives elections. For more stories and live updates, follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok using the handle @QNewsEGY to stay informed. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more updates.